Hello, everybody. It is Wednesday, and it is Wednesday Tech Talk with Mike. He has got lots of good information for you. You wanted me to show that picture first, correct? I'm going to show you a
Yeah, just
picture.
hold that picture up so that then I'll start from there and go forward.
Okay, so this is what he's going to be talking about, and he'll tell you all about it. So, Mike,
Okay.
go ahead.
All right. Uh, let's start off, ladies, talking about. I'm going to go a couple different directions. I'm going to talk about machines, and I'm going to talk about needles. I'm going to talk about embroidery. I'm going to talk about stabilizing. Okay. So number one is stabilizer. Is Sherry will show you an embroidery compass. It's this. Okay. This is what I call a guideline. Okay. It is not a gospel. Okay. You should look at these things as a guideline on how to do things. It's not a gospel. Okay. If you think it is a gospel, you're going to be sadly mistaken because there's times when you need heavier stabilizer to do things. It doesn't talk about density of a design. It doesn't talk about differences in machines. It doesn't talk about um, a lot of variables that you guys have. Okay. So variables make a difference when you're doing your embroidery. Okay. If you go to Hyundai and buy a car or go to Maserati and buy a car, do you think the engines, gearing ratios, and everything are the same thing? Well, I'll help you with that answer. It's no. They're not the same. Okay. So if you go to a big box store and you buy an embroidery machine or you go buy a high end embroidery machine, are they the same? The answer is no. Okay. Your motors, your gearing ratios, and are different in the machine. So, with that being said, your needle size can vary based on what you're doing. Okay. If you don't have a big enough, large enough motor to pull your needle back up through cleanly, so whenever I'm embroidering with a 7511 and you have a low end embroidery machine and you say, well, my stitches don't look right and it's looping, okay, you may have to go to a larger needle. Okay, guys. So you may have to poke a bigger hole in your embroidery design in order to get your thread to go through because your machine's not powerful enough to pull the needle thread up through whatever your design is. Um, those are variables um, that you have, and the larger your machine, the better your machine, the better your motor, the better gearing ratios, the better your results. Okay. That's just going to be a fact of life. Okay. You can't go buy a low end machine and expect for it to do the same as the person next to you that bought a high end machine. They just don't work that way. They'll never work that way. And it's a fact of life of that's how they get costs down on some of the machines is their quality on internal things on what it'll do is different than a high-end machine. um, you go look at a car, you're going to get the same answer. You're not going to go buy a low-end car and think that it's going to run like a high-end sports car. They just don't work. They never have worked. They never will work that way. um, So that's one of the reasons you see differences. Next thing I'm going to talk to you about is sewing machine needles. Okay. If you look at this sewing machine needle, you'll see that they're not real shiny. Okay. They're um, look like they're duller. Um, that's because it's an anti-glue needle. Okay. Anti-glue. means your sticky stabilizer, your spray adhesives, your tape, etc., doesn't stick as much. And you notice I say as much. Okay? There's nothing in the world that's anti glue 100% for a long period of time. Okay? This is not a forever needle. Okay? They do wear out, they do work better, but fact of life is your needles you do need to change. If you're using a sticky stabilizer, you're using a glue space, or you're using tape, any of those things will affect you. It'll affect your stitch quality. That's why you use the anti-glue needle so that it doesn't stick, that you get a better result longer. Okay? So that's why you use an anti-glue needle whenever you're using sticky. All right. Now I get people that come in and they say, Mike, my sewing machine isn't stitching. Okay. It's not forming a stitch. Okay. All needles are not the same. And I'm going to hold up here and I'm going to try like the devil here of showing you um, what I'm talking about. Okay. You see those two needles? All right. You see the back of the needle there. You see a little cutout place. That's called the scarf of the needle. Okay. That's where the hook goes through your needle to form a stitch. You notice it's in two different places there. The length of the needle is different. Not all sewing machine needles are the same length. Okay. So I have people that will take and put in this short needle, which is meant for a different machine, and they'll put it in their embroidery machine. It's not going to stitch, guys. The length of the needle's different, so you can't do that. So if you take an industrial needle and you stick it in your embroidery machine, it's not going to work. They're different lengths. Okay, so I'm gonna have to go here in a minute. I just had a customer walk in. So if there's different things like that, there's differences. Those are some of the main things that are different in and causes you differences. All right. All right, Sherry, you're up. I'll come back in a little bit if somebody's got questions. Okay.
Okay. We'll let you hang. We'll let you hang there. Okay, so we're gonna let Mike, and if it gets too noisy, we will turn him off. Um, okay, so he mentioned you saw the picture of the map in the beginning. That map is made out of leather. It was an Anita Good design, um, and the leather on it. Let me turn his volume. There we go. We can take his. We muted him. He'll come back and talk, and you won't hear him. It's an Anita Good design that we did. Actually, Mike did most of it. He did the embroidery. It was embroidered on leather. Now, not super thick, but it's a nice quality leather from a leather shop. Not we're not talking about the leather and from Kimberbell that comes in a roll. That is a leather substitute, a like pleather, or that's something different. This was leather, like you see a leather purse, a leather belt, that kind of thing. And all of the stitching for the states, Colleen, yeah, we all need a mute button. His is a little button right here. He pushes it and he mutes me out. The all of the stitching was done with my standard embroidery thread. We did use a sticky stabilizer and a 7511 needle. Now I believe that one was stitched on a multi-needle machine. It could have easily been stitched on one of your higher, your top end. You do not necessarily need a leather needle. A leather needle is bigger. It's more of a 9014 or the next size up. And that makes a bigger hole. Those numbers, like a 7511 is a thin needle. You go to an 8012, it's thicker. 9014, they all go up and they're they make a bigger hole, then you really need to use a bigger thread. But it was all stitched with 7511. Now, when the only time that we changed, or I did change it, and I did break a needle, was not on the embroidery. It's when we started to put the pieces together, because all of those pieces on that map were put together and zigzag stitched. So they were all satin stitched. The embroidery was done, the satin stitch was done, and then the pieces were put together and zigzag stitched. Okay, before we took and had it mounted and everything. Um, I did bump it up to a higher needle because it was going through all of the thread and all of the other stuff. Um, but Mike's absolutely correct on sometimes with your machines you do need, not all machines of course are created equal. The motor on them, the stronger it is, it can use a smaller needle. And we get a lot of questions on what needle do I use, what stabilizer do I use, can I mix and match the needles, and all of those kind of things. He just came back and sat back down, and he doesn't know that he's muted. Should we bring him back in and see if we have questions? Okay, hang on just a second. Let me get Mike back in here.
Yes, I did see the mute sign on top of my face. So
yeah, we got a little joke, a little laugh about that. Colleen said it was hilarious. She needs a mute button for John. Colleen also said that, in fact, let me get us both in here. Whoops, hold on. There we go. Colleen also said that she uses the non-glare or the non-stick needles to make cards. She does a lot of card, which is stitching through cardstock materials. Let me see. Jamie says, "You rock, Mike. Thank you."
notice I didn't throw you under the bus.
Ha 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 ha, she says. Yeah, I love all the comments from everybody. I did show them the picture of the map, and well, I showed that in the beginning, but
Yeah, and guys, that map was done with a 7511 needle. Okay, all the embroidery was done with a 7511 needle with an on an embroidery machine. And yes, did we change the needle more often? Yes, because it was leather. Okay, we went to a 9014 on the sewing machine when the states were sewn together, um, because it was thicker and it was heavier. We were going through a lot of thread, a lot of stabilizer, a lot of leather. So we went to a bigger needle in order to do that sewing it together.
okay. Oh, Jamie was waiting for you to throw her under the bus. We love our customers. Okay, anybody have any other questions, comments for Mike? Okay, I
All right.
guess you have things
Hasta la
to do.
vista.
You may be excused. Bye. I'll see you in a bit. Okay. Oh, you would like to see the map again? Yes. I will have to post another picture of it. I'll show you at the end, Jamie, because I've got the picture on my iPhone. And anybody that's in class, I can show that to you in class. So he showed you briefly the embroiderer's compass, and a compass is nothing more than a guide, just like Mike said. What is really nice about this is Deborah Jones, who works for Dime, has been working for them for years, is very, very knowledgeable in the stabilizers and needles and things and embroidery. I think she may have had an embroidery business, maybe she still does, with Dime. So she developed this compass. Yeah, you can see I put the name on here so it doesn't walk away. That's another thing. If you're going to classes, I suggest you label everything. Mark it. put your name on it, use your your cutting machine to make labels, or your label machine, so that you have can identify your stuff. A little side note or side story is, we had when we had classes in the store, this was a couple years ago, I would have people forget their machine cords, the power cords, because they would unplug them from the machine, and then they would, pack up their machines, out the door they went, and we would find loose cords, and then they'd call and say, hey, I left my cord. So we had that happen quite a few times. So I can remember in one class, I gave everybody tape to put their name on it, to tape it on their power cord. So if they did forget them, we would know whose cord, who it belonged to. So it was just kind of a little fun, ha joke that we did. And then when it came time to unplug cords, I tried to make sure and say, okay, make sure you don't forget your cord. Because there's nothing worse than getting your machine out to sew, and if you don't have another machine that has the same cord or a spare cord, you're dead in the water. But anyway, back to the compass. So this is really a nice tool, a useful tool, and you can use it in conjunction with some of our other stabilizers and stabilizer books, because it's not specific. So what's nice is all the way around this outside edge is different types of materials. And I know we've been doing quite a bit of freestanding lace lately. So that's right here is freestanding lace. We've got a little arrow here at the top. So we turn the arrow around to the freestanding lace, okay, right here. And underneath it tells you what stabilizer to use, which is a sew and wash mesh stabilizer. Now, it doesn't tell you, but if you were doing this in freestanding lace, anytime you're doing that, you want 2 layers. You want a double layer of wash away stabilizer. That way it makes it nice and thick. It's going to wash away anyway, and you can do your freestanding lace. Okay, then down here, it tells you the different needles. Okay, right here. You can use a light ballpoint. You can use, and out of that, use a 7010 or 7511. Dimes numbers are just a little bit different. 7511, a 7010, which is theirs, or the 7511. Freestanding lace, you do not need an 8012 or a 9014. You may have to slow the speed of your machine down, okay? And it says hoop securely and remove with water. So here it just has some comments at the bottom. So you can pick, something else here. Let's see what else we might. You might want to be doing terry cloth. Okay, so if you were doing a terry cloth, like towels, something you can hoop. Here it gives you information on your stabilizer, a layer of medium or firm tear away, tear and wash adhesive as a backing, water soluble topping on top. Again, different brands have different names. Your needle type, either a light ballpoint or a sharp, and you can use a 7511 or an 8012. If it's a heavier, a heavier fabric. So there you have it. Then comments telling you what you need to do. So this is a really, really good tool. Every time I pull this out, I get comments and people say, I have that. It's in the drawer. No, guys, you put this out next to your machine. It's got a hole in the middle. Use a push pin, stick it in the wall, hang it up. Put it someplace where you can find it, clip it, whatever. So it has 2 different sides with all that information. Now I will tell you, some of your things like embroidery toolshed, Dime's free toolshed software has a page that has information like that. And I think the software with most of your other vendors has that as well. But sometimes you just need something like this that's nice and handy, quick and easy. You want things with more detail, we have the stabilizer workbook, and it gives the information to you in detail. And one of my favorite things that I like about this book is this first page right here that tells you, when you look at a design, how many stitches it has, how many stitches, it breaks it down to a 4x4 hoop. So, and that's all explained. But if you've got, it helps you so you know how much stabilizer and things that you need to do based on a 4x4 hoop. But it gives you more detailed written out on all of the different stabilizers and what you use them for. So these two things can certainly be worked in conjunction. And this gives you a page where you can put a little sample. And since we know that the different brands call them different names, you could put samples of other brands as well and write down, okay, as a cross reference, okay, this is R&K's Embellish. Maybe I have Kimberbell's. Okay, this is one from Kimberbell. This is, so that when you pull that out, because we all buy stabilizers from different companies, you can pull it out, you can compare, and you can decide which one you like best. Maybe if you have, Dimes, and you have R&K's, and you have Kimberbell's, you've got them all here side by side. You can make a little star beside the one that you like best, or put notes on, okay, this one works better with this project, this one worked better with another project. Sometimes even, oh, I got this on sale from XYZ box store and it's not very nice, I don't like it, I will never use it again. All good information, kind of like a recipe book or a recipe card. So they've made this, I think they've got a new version coming out that might even be spiral bound. So, I use this. There's also this book, yes, this is my, and we have them in the shop. It's the R&K Embellish Stabilizer Workbook. And then we also have, R&K has Outside the Lines. This is a little guide on stabilizers, threads, design softwares, and tools. But what it has in it is it has samples of all the different types of stabilizers and a little bit of information about them. So like their water solubles, it's all listed underneath. So you can keep it in this, or if you wanted to fill out your book so you know exactly what it is, so you can compare, or you can decide, you got something at whatever, sale event. Will this work in place of that? And I think we may have some of these as well with, we may have some of those at the shop with the stabilizers that are from Dime. So again, I like to put them down and be able to compare, and it helps me whenever you guys ask me questions as well. Well, what stabilizer is that? And, I don't have that for class. And then I'll ask you, well, what do you have? Well, I have OESD, or I have Floriani, or I have, ABC, XYZ, whatever it is. We can kind of narrow it down and be able to say, well, yeah, you can substitute that. Because, even in cooking, embroidery, and all those things, sometimes we have to substitute. There's more than one way to do things. So those are the special tools of the day. I think that works really well for what Mike, he was talking to you about needles. And let me go back. Jamie asked for the picture. Let me see if it, let's see, we can, there it is. So this is an Anita Good design. It's big too. I mean, it sits up on the, over top my fireplace in a big, we put it in a custom frame. So those are not little tiny embroidery pictures, but we stitched out each one of those, and I don't remember which machine Mike used it on, but all of that, the words were done in blue, so that's all satin stitch, and all the stars and all the extra stuff, they all had, we did the red satin stitch around it, and then those pieces were laid down, and when they were laid down, you have to sew them together. So they were sewn together using a zigzag. So that's where we had to go with a bigger needle. Same thread. I used my 80 or my my 40 weight embroidery thread, bobbin thread on the back, And like I said, Mike actually did most. That was his project. It was something that he did, and then we put it all, got it all put together and had it framed. So he's pretty proud of that. We didn't take it to the store as a sample because I don't want to have everybody touching it. Because if you touch it, you know, all the oil and stuff from your fingers makes marks on it, and actually there wasn't any place to actually put it up. So there you go. You could see that. Are there any other questions, comments, or things? Um, this is the last day of the month. Tomorrow we'll be on and we'll be talking about our new challenge for next month. We'll have a challenge. Today we're doing our cup of cheer. I think this is our last one. So if you're in the cup of cheer group, make sure you're on here at 2 o'clock. Tomorrow is Vintage Jewel, our block of the month. We're finishing up. We've got a couple more of those. And following right on its tail is the one that you see behind me. We still have space in that. We do have the lighter shy colors. And then I have a couple of the shy color combinations. And then the bold is what you see back there. Those are going to be, let's see, they're triangles and flying geese. We're starting that in October. It is a block of the month. And I think this time you get a pattern. You get the fabric, all the fabric for the background, and fat quarters. So it is a fat quarter quilt. So you'll have all of the different colors of the fat quarters, and you'll be cutting it up. And if you're new or you know somebody who's a new quilter or wanting to learn, this is a great project because you're sewing triangles and flying geese. Lots and lots of triangles make all of those different blocks, and each month will be a different block. If you're experienced and you have trouble getting those points in the middle, again, great class. So it's good for experience to kind of brush up on your skills, for new people to learn. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to it. Actually, I'm kind of sad that the quilt, they sent me a digital print of the quilt, so I don't have to make a sample. I always enjoy making the samples and sewing along, so I may have to do it anyway. But that's what we've got going on. Lots of other things. If you are waiting for the harvest from the harvest table runner class, if you are waiting for the napkins and the table runners, those have not come in yet. As soon as we get them from Kimberbell, we'll get them sent back out. If you were watching Kim and you saw the new blue table tape dispenser and the binders, those will be shipping to us 2 weeks. I think it's the second week in September. They'll be shipping to us, and they'll be available to pre-order or available to order, and then we'll get them sent out. The Kimberbell, she was also talking about Sweet as Pie today. We have gotten the CDs in and the Embellish kits, but we're waiting. We're waiting on the fabric kits because I think most of you ordered all of the above. So if you did, they were supposed to start shipping today. I'm waiting from my vendor, because it comes from a different vendor, to get the invoice. That's how I know it's on its way. It'll be shipped. I'll get a confirmation and an invoice. So as soon as that comes out, and I keep looking over here at the calendar just to make sure I've got everything I'm telling you, we'll get it on the calendar. Most likely it will be the end of the month. Okay, closer to the end of the month. So if that stuff all comes in and we can get it sent out, we could sew on Thursday the 29th. So I'll put it on there, Sweet as Pie tentative. But everybody will know, because remember, if you ordered that stuff from us, you automatically get enrolled in the class. We will make, we'll use Zoom, and we'll send it out to everybody afterwards, so you won't miss anything. October, and I still don't exactly have dates and prices, but October we have our Kimberbell Felix, or not Kimberbell, but Kimberbell and Shannon. Felix the Fox, we're going to be having, um, Shannon is going to come and teach that, plus the Snowman and the Santa. Those will be three separate classes. We might do it where, you know, um, all together. I don't know. They're teaching the class. I'm just putting together the kits and selling the kits to you. So we have that. Oh, I have a little treat. I have a little treat. I have a little surprise. Yesterday was our first License to Create fall harvest class. Now, if you fall in love with this project and you say, oh darn, I want to make it, you can still participate because I have 4 of the boxes available. Okay, the boxes come with all of the stabilizers. It's like getting a Kimberbell box instead of a bag or a Bella box. It's like getting a big box because you have all of the stabilizers. They put some samples of the threads in there. They put the tape, okay, and you have videos for all 5 projects. So there's 5 projects. Sometimes there's extra designs. And then I add fabric. Now, it's not like a Kimberbell event where everything's pre-cut into the little teeny tiny pieces you need just for that project. No, I cut bigger pieces. Sometimes I will cut a 5-inch square, but most of them are fat 16ths, which are 9 by 11, fat quarters, which are 18 by 22, fat eighths, which are 9 by 22, or yardage, so that you have everything. Plus, I go through and add extra little things. So nobody in the group so far has seen my gnome. I actually have 2 because I made one yesterday. This is my original sample gnome, and this is Happy. Happy made her way to Disney this past month when we went on vacation, so he's got Disney ears. Okay, so Happy's got the ears, and Happy is getting ready to send our new little gnome on his vacation. He is going to go to everybody that is in the class. So far we have 21 people all across the country, and he's going to visit all of them. So he's packed and ready to go, and we'll be heading out shortly. So I want to introduce everybody to Sunshine. Sunshine from the Florida state. So Sunshine is going to be our group's traveling gnome, and he is going to head out and visit each and every one that wants to participate out of our License to Create. So if you see this and say, me, I want to, well, get on and grab one of those last 4 boxes and join us, because this is only one of the projects. Yes. Hello, Sunshine. Check out those sunglasses. That's a button. We all dig into our stuff. And so we've got Sunshine is going to be heading off to Miss Mary's first. And then everybody else that's part of the group. You will be getting an email in a little while with everybody's address, and let me check the addresses, make sure they're correct, and let me know yay or nay. I don't want to participate, I want to. So if you want to be part of our roaming traveling gnome, get on and sign up and buy one of the kits, and you'll have all of the classes. It's going to be lots of fun. We're making the Halloween bag, we're making the storybook with all the little bitty animals made out of felt. We're making little houses. We're working with this new flexible stiff stabilizer, and then of course the gnome. So we have 5 different projects. Oh, and the yard sign with the pumpkins. So it's really a cool one for the fall season. So 4 boxes left. So you can just call the shop and order them. I know you can't. I know everybody's waiting. I said, who wants the gnome first? And they're all jumping around and say they want it. But there's a reason that we're sending them to Miss Mary first, because she's going to start the process. He's going to have travels. He's going to have pictures. So you'll be watching and seeing pictures of the gnome on our friends and our Facebook page, so that everybody, whether you're part of this or not, you can still enjoy the travels of Sunshine. So with that being said, I have about 20 minutes before class. I will see all of you tomorrow at 1 o'clock. Make it a great afternoon. Have a great day. Go sew something and be ready to find out what is tomorrow, or the challenge for the month of September. I will see you then.